Negotiations continue tomorrow on rewriting the rules of finance. The House and Senate Conference Committee is working toward a final compromise on financial reform. Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez is part of those talks. He represents the 4th Congressional District in Illinois. Joins us tonight from the CME Group in Chicago. Congressman, welcome to Nightly Business Report.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you, Tom.
Lots of key points still remain in these remaining weeks here in June, including how to pay for future financial failures, an area you've been focused on. You support the idea of having the industry pay into a fund before any future collapse. What types of companies do you think should be subject to that?
$50 billion or greater, and you can clearly define them. And what we do is we do it the same way. It's similar to the way we've set up the FDIC in terms of financial institutions, right? The bigger you are, the more you pay. But in our instance, the riskier kinds of business practices that you have or trading practices you have. So that if you're a large financial institution, but you have a lot of depositors and depositors' money, and you're making loans for mortgages and you're making loans for commercial institutions, and that is that there's something to show for the money versus you're out there trading commercial paper and there aren't really a lot of assets to back them up. Maybe, I don't know, you're 15-to-1 versus 5-to-1 in terms of how you hedge your business. So depending on how risky your endeavors are, your financial endeavors are, and how you hedge, then you will pay into the fund so that when there is an accident, then there is a fund available.
Well, should a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac be subject to paying into this kind of fund?
You know, we are not dealing with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac at this particular point. What we have, they will obviously, after they go through the restructuring, they come back out of the receivership, which is basically what we have them in right now. Then we can take a look at that. But unfortunately,
would they be subject to that kind of insurance fund after they're being restructured?
I don't see why the Congress would not look at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in terms of paying into a fund so that in the future there will be a fund in case there are excesses. Given all of the other considerations that we have in our regulatory reform package, I think that probably won't happen. I think the regulators will intervene much sooner and quicker, because that's another part of what we're attempting to do, is change the structure.
Are you saying you don't think that kind of regulation would get through Congress even after Fannie and Freddie emerge from receivership?
No, I think it will get through Congress. I think it will get through Congress. And look, we're going to be dealing with that. But right now, what we have are institutions that are $50 billion or greater that should pay. And it's pretty simple. Look, I kind of look at it this way. You know, if I'm driving a car here in Chicago and police pull me over and they say, "Hey, Luis, you got a driver's license?" "Yes." "Did you register the car?" "Yes." "And by the way, did you have insurance?" And I say, "Well, I haven't had an accident yet, officer. Why do I need insurance?" That's kind of what we're saying here. We're saying to all of those investment bankers and other bankers on Wall Street, listen, we know you're licensed. And we know that you're registered. We just want you to take out insurance also before you have an accident.
Now, Congressman, it is important to point out this wouldn't necessarily exclude taxpayers from paying should there be any future problems. The FDIC Chair Sheila Bair wrote to you in a letter that any temporary use of government assistance would occur only if and when the industry funding is depleted. So how could that temporary funding work? Is that being addressed in this regulatory framework?
Yeah. Here's how we do it in our proposal. We say, first of all, there's a $150 billion fund, and it's funded by financial institutions that are $50 billion or greater. It's kind of like the FDIC fund. Now, Sheila Bair also in her letter says she would use the same kind of rigor that the FDIC has used over its 75 years of existence to make sure that it's run in a great way.
But Congressman, what happens?
And it has been run.
What happens after that first $150 billion? The industry could burn through that pretty quickly.
It could. Then you would have to come back to Congress before one additional cent could be spent. So, but the first $150 billion must be put up by the financial institutions, and then if Sheila Bair were to need to go back, yeah, she can borrow from the Fed another $150 billion, but there'd have to be a vote. Well, first of all, the president would have to be informed, and there'd have to be a vote in the Congress.
Congressman, just about a half minute left, and I want to get your thoughts on the so-called Volcker rule. This is endorsed by the president back earlier this year. It would ban banks from trading their own money, owning or investing in hedge funds, or owning and investing in private equity. Do you agree with those three restrictions?
Absolutely. I'm a strong supporter of the Volcker rule, but it's more than their own money, isn't it? It's FDIC. I'm at, like, my bank, right? I go, my funds are FDIC insured, billions of dollars of FDIC insured company. They shouldn't be able to go like today and say, oh, the futures are good, right, on the Dow Jones. Let's go take $100 million. And
you'd also
at the end of the day, find out they lost money.
And you'd also exclude them from hedge funds and private equity investing as well.
Yeah, because you want to know something? If you want to have a hedge fund, then call it a hedge fund.
Okay.
And then you can do all of the risky things you want to do. But it's not insured money. And it isn't money that you go to the Fed at the discount window, borrow at very, very cheap prices, and then use it for proprietary purposes. That's wrong, to use the public's money.
We appreciate the insights. Back at the negotiating table tomorrow in Washington. Our guest this evening at the CME Group, Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez.